Hi, Coach. First off, how's it feel to hear, first place Hurricanes, 20 games into the season?
Yeah, it's a nice way to be introduced. I hope Alex is doing that in March.
My other question is, I mean, you guys have played really well in close games. I was looking it up earlier, and in 10 games where you guys have won by or played that are 6 points, decided by 6 points or less, you guys are 7-3. What do you think makes you guys so good in situations like that, in close games like that?
Well, I think any coach would tell you in close games, your players have to stay cool, calm, and collected. We call it poise down the stretch. And to have that kind of poise, you need very good players. You need players who understand the moment, who understand what it's going to take either to make a shot or to stop the other team from making a shot.
Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Michelle.
Hey, Jim, congratulations. You could not wipe the smile off your face last night, even during the handshakes. You just seemed so happy. Can you just tell me how many times have you rewatched the replay of that shot? And who did you hear from? Did you hear from a lot of people? Were you getting a lot of text messages? I mean, that shot was going viral the end of that game.
Yeah, I got a lot of text messages from, a lot of people at the university, within the athletic department, in the administration, in the community. Yeah, the shot that Charlie made was incredible. So that went viral and is being talked about everywhere. So I watched it on the plane last night. I watched it again on my way home. I watched it this morning several times. And a lot of times what we were watching, my wife and I were watching the celebration of watching the guys sprint chasing Charlie through the tunnel. And then this morning, when I got to the office for our staff meeting, the coaches had me check out a few other people who had tweeted it. I don't really follow Twitter. I don't really read a lot of stuff like that, but the coaches had me do it. And so I must have watched it another dozen times on Twitter.
I just want to ask, when you watch it over and over, what do you take away from, you can sort of pick that play apart now in that shot. What is it that you see? Why did that play work so well?
One of the things that was happening, no one probably realized it when they were watching on TV, is I was standing close to midcourt trying to get the referees to tell me where we were taking the ball out. I didn't know if it was the length of the court or side court, or if it was at the hash mark, which it ended up being. And when we finally got that instruction, that changed our thinking as to what we needed to do. In the meantime, while I was doing that, Bill Courtney was approached by Charlie Moore, and Charlie said, "I want the ball. Give me the ball in this last situation." So Charlie was having a great game. He was playing very confidently. A lot of times we do put the ball in his hands to make the decision. So when Bill Courtney told me that, I said, no problem, we'll run it for him. And we put Isaiah Wong and Jordan Miller down the floor because both of them are threats to catch it and shoot it from deep. And so that stretched the Virginia Tech defense out a little bit. And we asked Sam Wardenberg to try to free up Charlie to screen for him. And Charlie just to cut off of Sam, catch the ball on the dead run and do what he could in 1.8 seconds. But what is really missed on this, and that's so important, and we use the expression on time and on target, was Cam McGusty's pass. Because if it had been a little bit behind Charlie or a little bit in front of him, threw him off balance, then Charlie never would have been able to make that play. But Cam threw the perfect pass. Sam set a good screen. Charlie used it. Isaiah and Jordan were in the right spot in case their man tried to help. And so Charlie made an incredible shot.
Thank you.
Go to Luke Chaney from the Miami Hurricane. Luke.
Hey, Coach. So I know you guys still have close to 2 days left of game prep before you play Georgia Tech, but can you talk a little bit about the different challenges that the Yellow Jackets may pose?
Well, anybody who follows the league knows that Georgia Tech just beat Florida State, who just beat us. So Georgia Tech has their own unique style, just like Florida State does. Georgia Tech is a team that changes defenses a lot. They play man, they play zone, but their zone is very unique. Very much like Syracuse's zone is very unique, but it's a 2-3. Georgia Tech's is what we call a 1-1-3 or a 1-1-2-1 or a 1-3-1, but it has these different shapes and strategies. So sometimes they might trap out of it. They like to trap in the corners. They'll pick you up at midcourt, or they'll pick you up more around the NBA 3-point line. And they vary the pickups, they vary the pressure. They're very good at forcing turnovers because it's so unique. A lot of players that face zones are not used to playing offense against this kind of zone. And you got to be very, very careful not to make mistakes. Georgia Tech is a very potent offensive team. Whenever Michael DeVoe or Jordan Usher catch fire, because they're both capable of carrying the offense for long periods of time.
Going out to Matt Shodell from CaneSport. Matt.
Hey, Jim. So I wanted to ask you, I guess it's sort of philosophical, the question, but in football, they have a 24-hour rule where you can enjoy the win for 24 hours, and you got to really just forget about it. And now football, you play once a week. Basketball, you're playing every 3 or 4 days. Do you have a rule for players where they, this is it, enjoy it for that flight home? Or is there anything you've said to them about, in terms of keeping them focused on the next game and the next game and the next game? Because you have so many close games with all these emotional highs and lows.
Yeah, Matt, that's a good question. And because the games come so frequently, you must put the last one behind you. There can't be a lingering effect, whether it's a celebration or you're in misery. If the expression, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Do you remember that from Wide World of Sports? I don't know if you are too young for that.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So, the thrill of victory last night was great. Now that's over with. We got to get ready for Georgia Tech. When we played Florida State, I told the team, the agony of defeat. But you can't let it linger. You got to move on. We take things one day at a time, one game at a time. We'll be meeting with the team at 3:00 today and trying to get ready for Georgia Tech.
We'll go now to Ken Sugiura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Hey, Jim. I had a question for you about someone that I think you recruited on Georgia Tech's roster, Clint Moore. He's not a star player by any stretch, but I'm curious, kind of in 3 years of playing against them, what do you notice about him?
Well, we did recruit Khalid because he was at my high school, Archbishop Malloy High School in Queens. And we're very familiar with that program. And so we looked at Khalid and we talked to his mom. He actually came here on an unofficial visit at one time. But circumstances in recruiting change all the time. Khalid decided to go to Georgia Tech. I think he's had himself a very nice career. And I think probably because he keeps improving. He's kind of one of those players that's a jack of all trades. He can do a lot of different things well. He can play a lot of different positions. And I think that fits very well with Josh Pastner's style of coaching.